Good afternoon, everybody. It's Sinead with Free Tours by Foot London. I'm standing in a very busy, very stunning Sloane Square in Chelsea. Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to take you on a trip back in time. We're going to head down one of the most iconic streets in London, famous for rock and roll history, cafes, bars, theatres, homes of artists, the rich and famous, the punk movement. Today, I'm taking you down the street that coined the phrase, the swinging 60s in London. Today I want to take you on an amazing trip through the King's Road here in Chelsea. Now, my lovelies, just give you a little look around. So this is the wonderful Sloane Square. Now, this is one of my favorite places at Christmas time. And I have you taking you down here when we did a Christmas lights video. Over here you have Sloane Street, and that is just littered with the most exclusive stores. Versace's there, Chanel is there, Tiffany & Co. We have Kate Spade over here. Now, this rather ugly looking building, I don't think it's a very attractive building, but it is an iconic building. This is the Peter Jones department store. That was named after a gentleman called Peter Rhys Jones. His father was a famous hat maker. And when they moved to London, they originally opened up a little store in Marylebone High Street, but then this has become an iconic department store in London. Now, I want to take you through Duke of York Square here because this is incredible shopping, but look where we are. Right here on the famous King's Road. Now, the King's Road, we believe, gets its name because this was the only route at one time for the king to take from his palaces here in Westminster, King Charles II, particularly towards Hampton Court, and later King George III. This was his direct route towards Kew Palace. Now, for years you had to apply for a King's Pass in order to use this actual route, but the early 1800s, when it became more accessible to the public, that's when beautiful homes began to spring up here. But let me take you through this gorgeous little Duke of York Square shopping centre. Now, this is also the location of the Saatchi Gallery, which we'll be heading around. But look at that beautiful little Instagram photo opportunity there. We have come through here once before, but I just want to show you the atmosphere of what it's like on a particular shopping day. One of the busiest in London, which is on a Saturday. Now, all these British flags are still up, and that's since, no doubt, the coronation and also the trooping, the colour, which if you're regular viewers to the channel, you'll know I covered both. But now, here on Saturdays, as you can see, we have quite a lively atmosphere around the place. It's a lovely little food market around here, serving all types of delicious bits and pieces. Now let's have a quick look around. We've got some oysters and champagne, very fitting for the neighbourhood we're in. No £5 dishes down here, my lovelies. Right, let's get back to the history of the King's Road. Now, it's about 2 miles long, so we've a good few stops along the way to make. So I'm going to show you all the highlights. So it was only until the 1830s that those who had a pass that was stamped the King's Private Road could use the King's Road. However, once it opened to the public, eventually the magnificent houses were built along this route and shops sprang up everywhere. But I suppose it became really synonymous with the fashion industry in 1955 when Mary Quant opened up her very famous store, Bazaar. I guess she kind of opened up her store where it was commonplace for women to be very glamorously dressed. And as it was quoted actually by a famous writer called Angela Carter, that it was a tough time when girls wore white gloves and they were perceived to be and expected to be quite conservative. But it wasn't long before Mary Quant kind of essentially put the iconic outfit together of the miniskirt that she is a credit to of inventing in this country, the ribbed sweater, the white go-go boots, and of course the floppy hats that a lot of rebellious girls turn their back on their conservative parents and looks. So Mary Quant's became the very first boutique here in London, and the girls could head in here and freely shop, and it became an iconic place then, and fashion industry became very much part of this street's history. I'm just waiting for that guy to pass with his music. It's a bit pathetic. Now, we're heading over to the McDonald's. Why in God's name am I going to McDonald's? This was the original Chelsea Drugstore. And the Chelsea Drugstore was, as the name suggests, had a huge pharmacy here, and there was talk that actually they even did home deliveries of girls in purple leather cat suits and mopeds would deliver drugs, well, pharmacy drugs, to the door. So there was a delivery service, but it was also an arcade, a shopping centre, a restaurant, a disco, a boutique. I mean, it was kind of modelled on the Les Drugstores, they call them in Paris. And again, mentioned in the very beginning of the 1969 song by the Rolling Stones, you can't always get what you want. But the venture closed down in the 1970s due to complaints from the locals, and I quote, they urged the council to protect them from rubbish, noise and hippies, ladies and gents. I like a good hippie, actually. We're going to keep going. This is Royal Avenue. It is also mentioned as well that actually James Bond in the books lived off a tree-lined corner avenue street just off of the King's Road. So quite possibly Sir Ian Fleming had James Bond living in one of these very elegant houses here off the King's Road. Now, also you'll be familiar with these gardens that you see here. I've mentioned these in several videos before, but just for those of you who aren't familiar with them, you'll be familiar with Hugh Grant trying to jump over one of these with Julia Roberts in the famous Notting Hill. These are private gardens, exclusive gardens for the residents of the buildings in the area. Majority of these areas don't have their own private gardens, so they're called key gardens, so they're accessible only by key. Exclusive gardens for the residents of the neighbourhood. Must be nice. And in some areas for the staff as well. Now we're going down here towards Jubilee Place. Now this is absolutely fascinating, this place. This is the Pheasantry, and I want to talk to you a little bit about, and as the name suggests, it was originally a pheasant shop. There is so much history involved in this particular place, and I want to talk to you about it. I just want to show you this first. It's rumoured to be one of the residences of Nell Gwynn, and you'll just about make her out there, and King Charles II. She was one of the favoured mistresses of King Charles II, originally an orange seller, but she worked then as an actress in the Royal Drury Lane Theatre, and that's where he's said to have met her. But she's said to have lived in this building, but originally a pheasantry. Now, when it was a pheasantry, it's where they sold pheasant, essentially, in here for years. Now, I don't think you get pheasant on Pizza Express, ladies and gents. It's now a Pizza Express, but just up in the corner there, I'm going to show you one of the most famous ballerinas in this country, Princess Serafina Astafieva. She actually lived in here, and she had a dance academy in here for a period of time. After she lived in here, that dance academy had seen some very famous ballerinas went through its doors. Now this is the Chelsea Registry office, the scene and the home of many weddings here in London. It looks like a lovely bridesmaid there, dressed in all purple with a set of flowers. This is actually where Judy Garland married her 5th husband inside this registry. Married Mickey Dears in 1969, but tragically, not long after, she lost her life. It was in March 1969, I think she married him, but she lost her life a few months later from an accidental overdose of sleeping pills. A terrible tragedy at the time, of course. That has been the home of many a celebrity at wedding over the years, and a very popular destination for weddings here in London. So this area here has the wonderful title of Dove House Green. So this was an old burial ground, ladies and gentlemen, that was donated and handed over by Sir Hans Sloane in 1733. And it was laid out to its current position by the Chelsea Society in collaboration with the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea. Rather interestingly, before we head in there, it's actually just caught my eye, ladies and gents. It says it's in remembrance of 457 civilians killed in Chelsea, with the dove beside it, hence Dove House Green. And they were killed by enemy action in 1939 to 1945. So this is quite interesting. It says Anthony Smith, who on the 23rd of February 1944 carried out an heroic act of rescue following a bombing raid near to this place, and was awarded the George Cross and the Freedom of the Borough of Chelsea. And Albert Littlejohn, BEM, who was honoured for his role in the same rescue. So, quite remarkable. Every now and then you turn the corner and you'll just see these amazing memorials to these heroes, just in the most random of places. So, dedicated to Anthony Smith, GC, and Albert Littlejohn, BEM. Let's take you on a little highlight trip just around inside the Chelsea Farmer Market. And just around the corner here, you guys, is, without a question or doubt, one of the most iconic and influential fashion stores in the world. We're very shortly approaching the ever-changing, innovative and evolving Sex Store by Vivienne Westwood. And straight away, you were brought back to the 60s and 70s punk movement with this incredible graffiti on the side of the door. A fashion icon who championed unique and rebellious fashion designs, which played a significant role in sharing the punk and the new wave movements. Her style and her designs, it created a distinct style, I guess, that, you know, kind of challenged fashion norms and embraced provocative and subversive aesthetic. So it's actually a flat above this store where it all began, when Vivienne Westwood and her boyfriend at the time, an ex-film student called Malcolm McLaren, we now know the founder and manager of the Sex Pistols, moved into an apartment above this flat. It was in that year that they acquired this premises. I'm going to show you the front of the premises right now, and I'll talk to you a little bit about the clock in a moment. It's when they acquired this premises, and its first name was Let It Rock. And one of her famous customers during that period was David Bowie. But it wasn't until Malcolm McLaren headed to New York in around 1972, and he came back here and he started tailoring like ripped jeans and safety pins attached to punk style costumes, if you like, that he became very interested in the music industry, and he wanted to actually set up a band. And he picked up 4 lads that used to hang around the shop quite frequently, all with the name of John. And the first one was John Wardle, later to become Ja Wobble, John Beverly, who was later to become Sid Vicious, and occasionally Sid Vicious actually helped out in the store, John Lydon, aka Johnny Rotten. So John Lydon, anyway, it was his surly attitude that really kind of revolutionised fashion and the punk movement. So this is where it was born, ladies and gents. Now the actual clock that runs backwards, that kind of symbolises Westwood's rejection of societal conventions and her desire basically to challenge the status quo. But a unique and incredible designer who has been the inspiration for the fabulous John Galliano and so many others, Oscar de la Renta, Balmain. It's her unique style that kind of sets her apart from the rest. She was definitely a huge loss to the fashion industry, but thankfully her designs will live forever. This is Vivienne Westwood's sex store. But just very briefly, before I sign out, you guys, along here as well is some of the incredible charity stores. If you're interested in a bit of thrift shopping, and the designer stores are a bit overpriced for you, which they tend to be, I'm afraid, for me. I will be looking for Vivienne Westwood stuff, but unfortunately I'll be looking for them on eBay and sample sales. So ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed that little jolly around the King's Road. Thank you as ever for joining me, my lovelies. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you are a new subscriber to the channel, you're very welcome. Delighted to meet you all. And thanks as ever, ladies and gentlemen. I'm signing out here on the King's Road in Chelsea. Sinead signing out from Free Tours by FTBFLondon. Thanks for watching, guys. Love to you all.